I started just selling things for students, for my classmates, just snacks and stuff like that.
What kind of snacks did you sell?
Man, junk food, really. Like chocolate, wafers, and some local branded snacks. Basically, some midnight snacks for students to like eat because students they play games during the night. So that's why I saw the opportunity.
What does personal branding mean to you?
I look at personal branding as a way to actualize your ideal self through creating an online business. It's your digital presence, it's an extension of yourself. And personal branding really is just a digitization of your reputation, your building reputation online.
You had built up a personal brand of over 6,000 followers, but you stopped and you decided to start
Mhm.
over from scratch.
What made me stop at that time was
Kat, my man, welcome to this conversation on the Body of Work podcast. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm doing great, feeling good. I'm well caffeinated, so excited to talk about whatever we're going to talk about.
Okay, well caffeinated. How many cups of coffees have you had so far?
Usually it's just 1 cup a day. You know,
Just
that's
one cup a
that's
day.
my limit. Yeah, more than
Oh,
that, I probably can't sleep. So it's just 1 cup a day.
all right, nice, nice. So this is a conversation between me and you, which I'm super excited to get into. And just because you're operating in a space slash an idea that has sparked a lot of curiosity since, how do you say, since coming across it, and that topic
Mm-hmm.
is personal branding.
Mm-hmm.
And since you've been helping others, I am eager to pick your mind on this topic. But first, what I'm interested in getting into to start this conversation is how your entrepreneurial journey got started. You know, the reason for this is
Okay.
oftentimes there's a pivotal moment that happens. For example, for me, it my journey basically started in entrepreneurship when I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. So what I want
Mm-hmm.
to know is what inspired you to start your journey as an entrepreneur, a brand strategist? Was there a pivotal moment or an experience that set you on this path?
Oh man, where do I start? It's a long journey. Well, I've started my entrepreneurial journey. Well, it started back in college, really. While I was doing my diploma, I started just selling things, for students, for my classmates and stuff like that. Just snacks and stuff like that. I guess I walked through like just briefly walk through all the entrepreneurial journeys that I've been through.
Yeah.
I've I probably started doing just selling snacks, and then after that, during diploma as well, I started a clothing brand. That's when I was introduced to social media marketing and influencer marketing, and just got into branding a little bit because clothing brands heavily rely on branding and marketing. And then after that, went into get my degree, but I dropped out really
Okay.
because I was just really wasn't feeling. I felt I wasn't really getting the value that I wanted from my education and what I was paying for it really. So I dropped out of that. I started my own. That's where I started really get into entrepreneurial journey. Where you know, uh, first I worked as a marketing and PR and marketing consultant for this hairdressing company, a barbershop brand, and then funnily enough, you know, s- something went wrong with that company, and they had no barbers and no hairdressers to work, and they suddenly like relied to me, yo, like, can you just like cut a few people? I was like, no, I can't do that. I have no training, right? So they, brought in some freelance barbers and really well known hairdressers during that time, and they were freelancing in the shop. and I was like curious to know about all this barbering, and I tried. I got into that and learned through all these freelancers, and suddenly I had a talent for it, right? I had skills in it, and I sort of that was the start of like my first evolution of a personal brand,
Yeah.
and that's why I got into personal branding in terms of within that industry, up to where I built up to a point where I had my own physical store. I had my own physical hairdressing brand, and after that's, a lot of things happened during that time, and then somehow I got into media production, marketing production, being a stylist for video shoots and photo shoots for these influencers. And that's, I got more exposure into branding and marketing and influencer marketing, all those things. And after that, you know, closed down my shop, went into brand strategy and social. Well, actually, I went into social media marketing first, and then I had a few partners, and then that's all the branding strategy happened, right? So yeah, quite a
Okay.
long story, but the
Yeah.
whole entrepreneur journey is full of ups and downs. You never really know where things might go. So
But
yeah,
that's so funny because I had no clue that you were a hairdresser or a barber. How you
yeah,
prefer
yeah.
to view it. Let me take a guess. Was your hairdressing salon called Cat Cuts
No, it was called Project K. The brand is
or
called
Project
Project K.
or
Yeah,
Project
it
K?
was originally
Okay.
called Cat's Barbering, and then when I opened the store, it was called Project K. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Cause Cat Cuts would have been a dope name. Um,
I know, I know. Now you said it, I was like, duh.
a funny story though. I also used to do. There was also a period that I was a barber as well.
Oh, nice, nice, nice.
Yeah.
When I was a barber, I did like all these, videos, because they weren't really barbers from where I come from, where they showcase doing videos and tutorials and all that stuff. So I was kind of like the first to do that. Had a couple of thousands of views, and I was like, oh, okay, there's something here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, that's cool, man. And it's funny how you started with in college or in school selling snacks. It's like that was like
yeah.
your first how do you say interaction with this sport of business or entrepreneurship. What kind of snacks did you sell?
Oh man, junk foods, really, like chocolate wafers, and some local branded snacks, basically some midnight snacks for students to like eat, because students, they play games during the night. They play Dota, they play whatever they played back then. So that's why I saw the opportunity. This, they need snacks.
Yeah. So how did
Yeah,
you go about that? Did you buy the snacks wholesale or did you just go to like your local grocery store, bought, and then
yeah,
you sell at a premium?
yeah. I sold like noodles as well. I think at one point, yeah, I just bought like, not really wholesale, but they used to have like bigger,
Like
packages. Or,
value packs, those
yeah,
value
kind of like
packs.
value packs. Yeah, and then was
Yeah.
just sell them individual, just not really a premium price, just a couple of cents profit, or what, $1 profit or $2 profit. That's it.
Uh, that's so cool, man. That's so cool. Okay,
Yeah,
so now I know, like you explained that you started selling snacks, and then you kind of fell into being a barber, and that's when you started getting, how do you say it? Affiliated with building a personal
yeah.
brand. And now I know many people have their own way of describing, personal branding, what a personal brand is. I mean, I have my
Hmm.
own way of looking at it, but I first wanted
Hmm.
to, find out like what does personal branding mean to you? How would you describe it? How do you view it?
Oh man. Uh Really, I look at personal branding as a way to actualize your ideal self through the means of creating a business or creating an online business, right? It's your it's your digital presence, really. It's an extension of yourself. And personal branding really is just a digitization of your reputation. You're building reputation online. Yeah.
Yeah, nice, nice. Because that hearing you say that, it does come close to how I view personal brand. In its
Mm-hmm.
simplest form, like you said, it's your reputation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like that you said that it's also an extension of yourself, because when I go a
Mm-hmm.
bit when I go a bit further into personal branding, one definition that I've created for myself is that it's the feeling that you give your audience, or it's a feeling that your audience or your followers have when they think about you or come in contact with you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like what's that feeling
Definitely.
that you're creating. And you touched on another point, saying it's actualizing yourself, I guess, like your full potential
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
by creating a business or a digital presence online.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
Definitely.
yeah, and that also falls in line with my not most recent interpretation of personal branding, but another, again, in its simplest form, is that personal branding is your personal development put on display,
Exactly. I love that.
right?
Exactly. That's it. Yeah. Exactly. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
um
And yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
No,
No,
go
I
ahead, go
was.
ahead.
It's also like uh who said it? I think Jeff Bezos. He basically said, branding or personal branding is what people say about you outside of
Mm-hmm.
the room, something like that, right? And that's basically
Yeah.
it. And when you think about it in the digital landscape, it's what people think of you, the perception of you.
Yeah.
That's it, really. Yeah.
Yeah. And just to add to that, I do believe what's important, and this other guy that I follow, Myron Golden,
Mm-hmm.
he also said it beautifully, and he basically makes a claim that whether you're intentional about it or not, your personal brand is being developed, is being built, right? And so
Yeah. Exactly.
you, and so you want to make a conscious decision to decide, like, how do you want to show up by other people? Do you want to be a weed in the garden of other people, or
Mm-hmm.
do you want to show up as a flower in that garden?
Mm-hmm.
And I read that, when I heard that, I thought, like, wow, this is just important to, even if you're online or offline, just the realization that you need to be intentional about how you want to show up in this in life is really
Mm-hmm.
important, or else other people are going to create that narrative for you.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and so with that said, I remember when we last spoke, you told me about that at a given point you had built up a personal brand of over 6,000 followers, but
Mm-hmm.
you gave that up completely, you stopped, and you decided to start
Mm-hmm.
over from scratch. Now, I
Yeah.
know some people would be happy, to have amassed like a 6,000 plus follower audience online.
Mm.
But something happened that caused you to, say, pull the plug. Take me back to that moment.
Yeah.
What was going on there? What was happening behind the scenes?
Uh, well, during that time, that personal brand has really that 6,000 really, that took a long time. It wasn't really like, 6,000 within a year, 2 years, or 3 years. That personal brand was since I started my barbering journey or my hairdressing journey, right? So it went through a lot of changes, but what made me stop at that time was basically what I had built, the brand that I had built, or the narrative that I was trying to showcase didn't really align with my current identity at that point in time, right? It it was up to a point where I didn't really like my own brand anymore. I didn't really believe my own brand anymore. I felt I was boxed into a corner. I felt like basically I felt like I was boxed into one box, because that was at the point where I was transitioning to barbering and then social media marketing, and I was just really talking about social media marketing. And I felt that, there's more to me than social media marketing. There was more to me about just content. So I just didn't really feel like that is me. It's not me anymore. So I felt completely out of it, and that was at a point where I felt like content just feels like work. It feels
Yeah.
like it's not something that I enjoy doing anymore. It's not something that I really want to do, or it's not something that I really want to express. I can't
Yeah.
really create content without feeling like it's work. Uh,
Okay.
didn't find the joy in it anymore, really.
Okay. So you said it didn't align, the narrative that you were creating didn't align with your values at this, your current value system.
Yeah.
I guess to some degree I can relate. I remember when I started on Twitter last year, I started with this
Hmm.
intention of, building my personal brand, just exploring and venturing out into the creator economy space. And then after some months, I realized that I started talking about Twitter growth and making money online with Twitter. And just like you said,
Yeah.
at a given point, you felt so disconnected with with what you came on the platform initially to do, just
Yeah.
just for the sake of, you know getting followers.
Exactly. Exactly.
Was that
Well,
to some degree
at,
what you were feeling with yours?
yeah, because during that time, you know, the Instagram gurus was really all this advice was just to niche down, focus on what your niche is. If your social media, if your niche is social media, or if your business is social media, then you should just talk about social media, right? And you should just focus on that and provide value, whatever value is, right? So I just started focusing on that. And the thing is, I found that all the tips, all the hacks, all the value that I provided, all these followers or likes and people that will follow me, they were just getting free value but weren't really creating any relationship with me. So there was no depth to the brand that I was building. There was no relationship, there was no connection to the audience, really, because they were just getting the free value. They were getting the tips and the hacks, and that's it, right? They weren't really talking like how we talk in threads right now. They were
Yeah.
just liking it, saving it, and that's it, right? They weren't really building the connection, and that was my fault really as well, because I didn't have the self-awareness to think like, oh, I need to build something more out of just giving the tips and the values and the hacks, whatever. I need to actually connect with them and probably ask them more questions and stuff like that. But I was just providing tips and hacks and value like that. And then there was just basically you're treated like a search engine where people
Yeah.
just go to you, get the value, and that's it. right? So when it comes to DMing and trying to create conversation on DMs, it becomes harder because they just think of you like another search engine, basically.
Okay, and I mean, like, as I'm hearing you talk about this, what's going through my mind is what for you was the big problem there? Was it that you weren't getting to really connect with your audience? Because I guess some people, why I'm asking is, I guess because
Hmm.
some may look at what you were doing as an ideal way to monetize because you were having traffic,
Hmm.
you had eyeballs on your account. But what was it
Hmm.
that that really made you say like I don't want to do this anymore?
Yeah. At that point, I didn't feel I was creating the contents that I want to make, even though I had some eyeballs, even though I had some, good traffic, but
Yeah.
I wasn't, I wasn't being myself. I wasn't expressing myself truly, really. So I was just making content for the sake of making content, right? So I wasn't able to pivot to do what or create the contents that I want to create, right? So
Okay.
that's when I just stopped. Basically, I was just like, oh man, and probably burned out. You know, at that point in time, when was this? Yeah, I burnt out as well. I had an anxiety attack that year, and that was another cause of just me like letting go of social media and what I've built, and just saying, let's just pause for a moment
Yeah.
and think about this all over again. Yeah.
So how important is that, do you think, in general for yourself and for others when it comes to creating, I guess, creating from a place that makes you feel fulfilled? Like how important is that?
Oh man, it's so important. It's now I look at it, it's like it's it's the main thing if you want to play this game longer, longer than everyone else. Because if you really enjoy what you do, if you can enjoy what you do, enjoy what you're creating, if you can express yourself authentically, then you're just gonna play it longer than everyone else, right? And you're not seeing it as work. You're just seeing it as a part of your lifestyle. You're just doing it because you love it, and you're acting in a place from a place of gratitude because you think like, oh, this is what I get to do. I just get to write content for my audience. I just get to provide value from my insights, from my perspective, from what I learn. And you think like, oh, this is kind of awesome. And you feel fulfilled because it's actually, you're acting in a place of gratitude. You're feeling gratitude because you're actually doing what you want to do and creating things that you want to do and talking about things that you want to talk. So I think it's
Yeah.
really important, and you're growing you're able to grow consistently and sustainably just because of how much you enjoy it. Yeah.
I love that. So how different does your content output, like the format which you
Mm-hmm.
produce content, look now versus then? Because I guess then you were on Instagram, so I'll just make the assumption that it
Mm-hmm.
was more maybe like carousels, less of yourself. How much different does your content output look from then versus what you're doing now?
Oh man, totally different because Instagram back then we were really pushing on carousels, images, and they were starting to get into video. IGTV, if you remember that, that was before
Oh yeah, that
Reels,
was a
right?
thing.
And even
Yeah.
before TikTok. So IGTV and all that stuff, lives. And even though, part of my work or my freelance work back then was to create content for my clients, reels, carousels. It was already part of my work. But for myself, I just thought it took a lot of time away from me, right? For the things that I actually want to build. Like at that point, I was thinking, how can I enjoy what I do? And that's when I realized the things that I enjoy was actually learning and trying to share content through that. And part of that is writing, right? So fast forward when threads came about, before I started on Twitter, but Twitter didn't work out for me because of the ecosystem and the vibe that it gives off. It wasn't really for me. But I started from there. I started writing from there. That's when I started writing, trying to articulate my thoughts, my ideas through short form content. And when threads came in, I was just like, oh man, this is perfect. So I was already able to kind of write short form contents, and I just did that for threads. Like now I'm able to post content 3 or 4 times a day. Minimum is probably two, right? Whereas on Instagram back then, I can only probably produce 3 carousels per week because I
Yeah.
have to think about the design, the colors, or how do I attract people with this image, stuff like that. And it really takes a little bit of the creative process out of me, whereas writing is just I'm only thinking about you know what's the benefit here, what's the solution here, what's the problem here, what's the value here. So it's just a better process for me when it comes to writing, and that always can translate back or repurpose back to Instagram, right? So
Yeah.
I think I really found the format that I love, which is writing, basically.
I love that. I love that because I scrolled back on your Threads account all the way to the beginning, and
Mhm.
I had to scroll for
Right.
a while. and and I saw that you
I post a lot.
started. Yeah, I saw that you started on July 6th, if I'm not mistaken. Um,
Yeah.
and and then I had to look at when Threads started, and Threads, from what I saw on Google, was launched on
Hmm.
July 5th, on the 5th of July.
Yeah.
So you basically like were on Threads from the very beginning,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then as I went through your content, I saw about 5 days later you reached your first 100 followers on Threads. And
Hmm.
then fast forward to today, about 10 months later, you're over 3,300 plus followers. So,
Yeah.
although I don't want this podcast to be like, how do you grow on Threads per se, I just want to know what's one piece of advice you'd give someone who's considering starting on Threads or is currently on Threads, but they quote unquote think Threads is dead if they want to grow
Hmm.
on the platform.
Okay. Uh. Well, I mean, threads. I think. Well, first of all, I didn't know that threads was launching. Right. I
Yeah, okay.
literally woke up that morning and saw everyone was just like posting about threads. I was like, what the heck is this? Oh, it's the new Twitter, is another writing based platform and stuff like that. It's a copy of Twitter. They were saying that kind of stuff. And it's just let me check this out, and I just started posting organically. I was just didn't really plan anything the first couple of days, right? And when I saw that there's potential and how much I enjoy creating and posting, that's when I decided this is the time for me to start my personal brand again. Given all the things that I've learned, in real life, in- with branding, let me just use that again for my personal branding. So I did that. So I think threads really has potential. One is because it's from Instagram. It's under one umbrella, the Meta umbrella, right? There's really huge opportunity when it comes to cross promotion, maybe in terms of one DMs, or they're already promoting threads posts on Instagram. Sometimes when you look at feed, you can see
Yeah.
like people post, other people's posts from threads, right? So there's potential there, but you can already see a lot of people coming from X just because they just enjoy the vibe and the community on threads more, right? It's a much more community based, more friendlier base, place, I guess. But how to go on threads is, I hate to sound cliche, but it really is just be yourself. Like
Mm-hmm.
engage with people, comment, connect with people. It's so much easy to connect on people on threads. I've like made friends, like real friends through threads. I've created probably two or three masterminds from threads. I've joined bigger communities in school because of threads, right? And it's so much easier, and it's not scary. It's not scary in, like, if you're thinking of bidding on Twitter, it's like, oh my god, there's all these big creators, there's so much stuff with the ads and whatever. But threads is just so much cleaner and you feel a bit safer, I guess.
Yeah.
So threads really is all about building your tribe. You can really build your tribe on there. And if you post consistently and engage consistently, you'll notice under your comments and the people that comment with your posts, there'll be the same similar people that go to your posts, engage with you, and those are the people that, you know the core foundation of your tribe. I can
Yeah.
probably list a handful of people that regularly engage with my content, and I love them because they help me out. Because they
Yeah.
engage with me. They've been engaging with me ever since threads came about, like in the first month, the first two
Oh
months.
wow.
There's still people engaging with me from the beginning, and that's how amazing it is. And we all kind of have like this sense of know that threats there's potential in threats, and everybody is just building and creating and posting and helping each other out, encouraging others, even when people take breaks, like they went away for a month or weeks, and then when they come back, it's like, hey, we miss you, bro. Where have you been? How's it going? What happened? It's okay if you need to take a break from content creation, stuff like that. So it's really a good community, and you really can build a tribe on there.
That's a really good piece of advice to be yourself, be authentically yourself. And I can attest. I was on X, Twitter slash X, last year. That's when I started my personal branding journey, and like I said, it kind of went into this place that where I started creating content that just didn't feel like me anymore. And
Hmm.
you kind of go into this creative burnout phase.
Yeah,
And there's something about Twitter that just felt a bit off and heavy and negative, borderline toxic. And so
yeah.
when Threads came out, indeed, okay, it wasn't available in the Netherlands, and I joined. When did I join? I joined. I think I started around January and
Hmm.
of this year, and I saw it as an opportunity to do things differently. Just like what you said, when it launched,
Yeah,
you were like, this feels, for some reason, I don't know yet, but it just felt like a platform where I can build a personal brand the way that I want to, which is in a very genuine, authentic way, putting no restrictions on what I share, how I share it, etc. Just use it as a way to
yeah.
experiment. So I do share that same sentiment that it does feel like a safe place where you can find
Mm-hmm.
community and real community. And I also I'm, look, I have no basis for this, but I do feel like people who come on threads and stay on threads come there because they feel like things can be done differently in growing. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't have to be too uptight. You can just be freakishly relaxed and still find a tribe of people who mess with you, right?
yeah.
Um,
And I think one thing I've noticed when you were saying that is that on threads, there's less chasing of trends. I think
yeah,
that's one thing about threads is that there's no trends to chase. Whereas on Twitter, there's all kinds of trends on Twitter. There's all kinds of trends on TikTok, Instagram, and all that. YouTube, right? But on threads, that's how you can build differently because you're not really chasing trends. You're really
yeah.
just contributing to the collective. That's it.
I love how you put that, contributing to the collective. All right, so the last time we spoke, you shared with me 4 pillars you focus on when helping others build their personal brand,
Hmm.
because that's now an area that you're super passionate about, helping other people
Hmm.
build their personal brands. And those pillars are essence, affinity, ecosystem, and conversion. So I'd love for you to break these down again for me. You don't have to go in too in depth, but just touch base on each of them,
Hmm.
starting with essence.
Uh, yeah, sure. Well, I would say sorry. The last pillar conversion was actually visibility. The last two pillars, which is ecosystem and visibility, they both are part of the conversion side of the framework, right? The first two
Okay.
pillars, essence and affinity, is all
Affinity.
about building. Yeah, it's all about building. The ecosystem and visibility is all about conversion, right? So essence is really essence and infinity really is the first two foundation that you need to focus on basically because everything else is interconnected with these two, right? Essence is all about you, and I think we talked about this in the beginning where personal branding is somewhat related to personal development, right? So you really have to reflect back on who you are because who you are the resonance points to your audience, right? To know your audience is to know yourself. So within your personality or in your archetype and the problems that you've solved, those are the things that you can, those are the things how you can reach to your audience and create this emotional bond with them, right? That's really what essence is. It's your philosophy, it's your beliefs, it's your values, it's your personality, right? And then when it comes to affinity, it's under these main 3 points, which is content, contrast, and interest, which is your content pillars, right? And contrast is finding what is unique about you, and content is all about how can you connect well through your resonance points, which we did in the essence pillars. And interest is basically the problems that you help solve, right? The interest, you can think about interest as problems. We all have problems that we want to help solve, and we can attract our audience, our niche of one, through the problems that we help solve. And these are the two main pillars that we should be focusing on for like the first year, I would say six within the 6 to 12 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other two, once you've built this foundation, then you can start thinking about inviting people into your ecosystem. Your ecosystem, really, the first introduction to your ecosystem is probably the best thing is your newsletters, right? Is the first level into your inner world, right? Your whole ecosystem. And that's where you can introduce your offers, introduce your concepts, your frameworks, and build this relationship with your audience that's already subscribing to your newsletter. They're already interested in you, right? They subscribe into your newsletters.
Yeah.
They're listening to your podcast. Podcast is like another level of ecosystem. It's distribution, right? So ecosystem is all about building this world where people can experience your brand, right? And visibility is really about how can people identify you. And without, without the essence that which we did in the first pillar, it's hard to do the visibility part, because it's all about your visual identity, the signals, the symbols, and all that good stuff about branding. And I know a lot of people, when it comes to branding, they think about all logos, colors, and all these fonts and stuff like that. But you don't have to in the beginning, right? You can always build a brand through your content first, because content is part of your brand,
I love
right?
that.
So visibility is all about defining your visual identity. It's adding another layer of depth to your personal brand. So, for example, I would say that the best thing about threads being connected to Instagram is that you can build a holistic brand with just these two platforms, right? Threads, text based platform, you're building an audience who likes to read, short form content, who likes to read, and probably get into your ecosystem of newsletters, and they read that as well. Instagram is a visual platform. There you can build your personal brand through colors and visuals and images and aesthetics and styles. That's where you can marry these two worlds of words and visuals together and build this holistic approach to personal branding, right? But you don't have to start with a visual identity, getting the colors right and whatever. You can just start with threads and do it through writing, because personal branding or branding in general is all about emotions, right? So we have to get that right first, and the values that we want to provide, and it all starts from there. So that's the four pillars, simplified, I guess. I hope I've simplified it. But
Man,
yeah.
man, that I mean, even though you just spoke on those 4 points very briefly for a few minutes, I felt like I got so much value. Yeah, just like reflecting on my
Thank you.
own brand and just the way you phrase it in terms of you can really build a holistic brand just by using those two platforms, Threads
Yeah.
and Instagram. And although some people, complain about Instagram and reach and
Yeah.
all of that nonsense, if you're new in the game, and even if you're not new, even if you're advanced, it's like you can take a step back, test your ideas on Threads because it's a lot easier,
Hmm.
to put out content there, and you can review and just have kind of it's almost like a second brain with your ideas,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then transition over into a more visual aspect of your brand, creating a deeper connection and feel and vibe with your audience. So I really
Hmm.
really love how you phrase that. Now I would love to go deeper into all of these aspects,
Oh man.
but
Yeah.
but but because of time, I'm gonna hold myself back.
Mhm.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
what I do want to zoom into a bit more is the essence part. More so
Hmm.
because of a post you made where you said, and you also said it, like the essence is the core of your personal brand, meaning this is where you
Hmm.
start your personal brand. This is the essence of you. And to establish that, there are three components to that you need to identify, and then
Hmm.
for your essence, those three components that you wrote about are your philosophy, your archetype, and your contrast. And
Yeah.
you made a beautiful image where you had essence at the center, and then
Mm-hmm.
these three components of philosophy, archetype, and contrast were
Yeah.
it was surrounding the essence, so showing that essence is the core. Um,
Yeah.
instead of going into more definitions, I want to make this. I would love for this to be a bit more tangible, so that
Mm-hmm.
if someone comes across this in this conversation, they can have something to go off of. So, with that said, I'm interested in knowing, relating to you, your
Mm-hmm.
essence. What's your philosophy?
Oh, okay.
What's your archetype? What's your contrast?
Okay. Oh, cool. Okay. Uh, I guess I'll start with my personality. The way you can do this, and this is actually part of the program, and it's really simple. You can just go into, I forgot the quiz, the 16 personality quiz, where you can
Yeah,
actually find out your personality type.
yeah.
Mine is INFJ A or something like that. It's one of the actually proud of this. It's like one of the rare personality type, I guess. Number one or number two, rare. So so when I look into that, into my personality, and it was really like reading myself, they hit it on the spot, right? And obviously it's not going to be accurate for everybody, right? But you can use that as a guideline. So in there, they show you your strengths and your weaknesses. So how you can use that is basically, these are the character traits that you can build off for your personal brand. And you can use that as well to create an avatar to who you're talking to. So you really know specifically in terms of, character traits, their wants, their needs, and really know specifically who you're talking to. So it's easy to create content, right? And from there, you can know and learn about your archetypes, where there's 12 archetypes in branding. Mine is the hero, the creative, the creator, and the wise, I think. So it's kind of like, you think about characters like Tony Stark,
Oh yeah.
Gandalf, and probably Aragon. But it's a mix of those things, right? We're humans, we're complex. We can't really box ourselves into one archetype. So you can have a mix of two or three, and from there you can really think about, okay, what are my values and my beliefs, and how can I align that through my content. So that really will affect your decision making or your creative process when it comes to writing. It will affect how you write, the words that you choose, your tone of voice when you're writing. Maybe want to, be, some people are a bit more robotic when it comes to writing, some people are a bit more philosophical, some people add humor to it. So you can really embrace to who you are when you know your personality, right? And when it comes to contrast, how I did this is that there's a story in all of us, right? There's a story in who we are. We have catalyst stories, what I like to call them, the pivotal moments in our life that change us for the better, or there's moments in our lives that, probably brought us down. And it doesn't have to be dramatic, it doesn't have to be like, I was like broke and I was like, at my lowest moment. It doesn't have to be like that even. You just have to find pivotal moments in your life and use that as resonance points to your brand building. Like if you look at my profile, my pin post is a story about how I felt my last personal brand didn't feel right, or I didn't feel like it was connecting to people, and I didn't feel like personal branding was the way for me back then and stuff like that. I wrote like a long post about that, and that's kind
Yeah.
of like a resonance points for my audience to see like, oh, this is like one of my journey that I went through. And you can even look at big creators, they all have resonance points. Justin Welch talks about his anxiety attack, panic attack when he was working in the corporate startup life. Dan Ko, his resonance points was he went through a lot of failures, drop shipping, web designs and stuff like that, and people can relate to that. So contrast is really about that. And the other one is philosophy, which is my vision, my purpose. And really, if I can define my purpose, is just to the main purpose. There's a lot of purpose. There's the bigger purpose and the there's the current purpose. I guess the one that I can say right now, the current purpose is just to provide the best and comfortable life that I can provide for my family, and build at the same time build a legacy through that. So that's just my current purpose right now. And that also, affects my decision making in terms of where I'm heading into with my personal brand, what offers that I want to create, the topics that I talk about. So you might think that essence is just hoo ha ha, kind of like it doesn't matter when it comes to business or personal branding. But really, I think about branding is like this magical spell that influences and attracts people through shared beliefs, right? So people won't know your exactly what is your purpose and your beliefs are, but trust me, energy transfers through business and through writings, and they can feel that energy. This guy, I like this guy, but somehow he's on the right path, he aligns with my values, he talks about what I talk about, you know so there's this invisible influence, and your essence really are the invisible influence to attracting your tribe.
Bro, this is so
I hope that
fascinating. And
helps.
no, no, because you said the last thing you said was all um about energy. And as you said that, like
Yeah,
my whole skin, like I'm just like, this is so golden what you're sharing, because you're essentially saying that taking the time to focus on the essence, you are sort of creating a foundation to build from. um,
hmm,
and like, the beautiful part about doing something like this or engaging in a practice, and of course it's gonna evolve over time, but
yeah,
when you find yourself maybe a bit lost, maybe not so lost, but maybe moments of overwhelm, or just not so sure what to do next, you can always fall back on your essence
exactly. Yeah,
and remind yourself, as cliche as it may sound, why are you doing what you're doing? How
yep.
do you want to show up, in life? What are some, what are some areas that you may need to stay away from that may essentially bring out the worst in you, or
Hmm.
go towards because it brings out the best in you. So I appreciate you making those aspects tangible. Um, Man, like I said, I feel like this is almost like a masterclass in personal branding. This is this this
Yeah,
is this
and
is
I
some.
would say, essence is kind of like a bit more on the personal development side as well. It takes a lot
Mm-hmm.
of reflection and introspection to
Yeah.
really know who you are, so that you can build the business or the brand that you want, and there's clarity in that. So most people or new creators, they lack clarity because they haven't really written down or do the work on the foundation and on the essence, right? So it's basically essential, right? Really have to know why you're doing it, and how can you you know provide the best energy you can into this venture, into this odyssey, really.
Amazing. I love it. Kat, I would. I mean, like every other conversation, I would just love to continue going and going and going, but I want to be respectful of your time and the time of the listeners as well. And so, with a
Hmm.
heavy heart, we're coming to the end of the conversation. And how I like to end my podcast is by doing a round of quick hit questions where essentially I have
Okay.
some questions. They're not so much related to like the topic or what we were talking about. Just like some general questions, and I'm gonna throw them at you. And the idea is for you to answer them as quick as possible, 1 to 2 sentences.
Okay.
Just let me
Cool.
know. Are you ready?
All right. I'm ready. Let's go.
Oh, okay, let's go. What's one book you believe everyone should read to better themselves?
Uh, what's it called? How to how to influence people and what is it? How to influence people, make friends.
How to win
Yes,
friends.
how to win friends, influence people. Yes, exactly that. Or think and grow rich. Either those two or
Yeah.
both of them. Yeah.
Yeah, the first one, Dale Carnegie. That was an amazing book. Oh, that's a really
Yeah.
good one.
It's a classic. It's a classic.
It, it is. If you could instantly master any skill, what would it be?
Oh man. Any skill. Any skill. Honestly, I would like to master video editing.
What was that?
I would like to master video editing. I think I like to master video editing
That
because I
is
love
yeah,
movies. I love cinematography. It's just like that one thing that I want to like express the things that I want, the things that I see in my head visually. Yeah.
nice, nice. What's the most unexpected lesson this journey has taught you?
Business development is just personal development.
Oh, good. If you could
Yeah.
send a message to yourself 10 years ago, what would you say?
There's no rush, man. There's no rush. Enjoy life, socialize more, take it easy. Yeah.
Cool. What's one hobby you've always wanted to pick up but haven't yet?
Piano.
Oh,
I
really?
love to learn piano. Yeah. I would love to be able to play the Interstellar theme song. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Yeah. I
That's a
like that.
goal.
Is that the theme song of your journey?
Definitely. Time. Oh my god. That's the theme song right there.
Nice, nice. What's the strangest job you've ever had and what did it teach you?
A strangest job. Strangest job. Strangest job. Uh I guess it's not really strange, but I've worked in a cinema in the what do you call that, the popcorn area.
Yeah.
The popcorn station, the food station, really. It kind of taught me about leadership because somehow I got to be one of the crew leader there and just like organizing things and taking responsibility. I was like, oh man, I'm probably too young for this, but I was just like, okay, let's do it.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. If you had to pick one creator that has the biggest impact on you, who would it be?
Oh,
Only one.
the biggest impact creator. This is probably going to be most people's, uh, you know, choice, and I think you know who it is. Is Danko.
Danko. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I have a lot. I have a few, but probably Danko is number one right now.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. And the last question, looking ahead 50 years, what do you hope people say about your body of work?
Oh man, I would like them to say that I've provided them the best possible way to live a meaningful and successful life. That's it. Yeah.
Nice,
Yeah. To
nice,
provide them a meaningful and successful life. Yeah. It's not about money, but also living in the real world as well.
nice, nice. Kat, my man, I want to thank you for going on this journey with me on the Body of Work podcast, for being so open and willing to share your story and to share your journey, the ups and downs. And I appreciate you being here and just making this time available to do this. Any closing remarks, anything you want to say? How you feeling? Like,
Man, I've enjoyed the talk. I've enjoyed talking to you. Hope I can do this again another day or sometime in the future. Whenever this podcast is, you know, becomes successful, I hope I get to return back and talk a lot more on the things that I've learned. So yeah, happy to be
amazing.
on here.
Amazing, amazing. If it's gonna be successful, I mean, for me, it's already a success because it's in existence. Um,
No, sorry, I worded that wrong. When it grows bigger than you can, even bigger than you could have possibly imagined. Yeah,
yeah,
that remember me,
of
remember
course,
us.
of course, man. I can't. Like you're my third guest, and I think my first 100 guests are gonna have a special place in my heart. So, man, trust me, Kat,
Love that.
you, I can't forget you. Um, Now, to the listener, if you want to get in touch with Kat, you can find him on Threads. He goes under the username Katt.Russ, and that's Katt dot Russ. And you can also visit his website, which is www.kattruss.com. I will also be leaving his contact information in the details of the show, and so you can connect with him. With that being said, thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.